Today, we're going to talk about what young athletes can learn from an Olympic gold medalist, an incredibly dominant athlete, and a consensus All American in her sport. We're talking fast pitch softball with Michelle Granger coming up right now. Hey, everybody, welcome to Elite Athletes TV. I'm Mike Pulaski, former 11-year pro quarterback, but today we are talking fast pitch softball with one of the greatest to ever play the game. Dominant pitcher Michelle Granger. She's one of our coaches here at EliteAthletesTV.com, and we're talking about what young athletes should focus on as they begin their path in sport, be it football, baseball, basketball, soccer, or in this case, fast pitch softball. Michelle, at the age of 15, was playing for Team USA in softball, so she got an early lesson in how to prepare for sport in her sport from some of the best playing the game at the time. And she took that with her over the course of her career as a player, as an Olympic athlete, as an Olympic gold medalist, as a professional, and then as a coach at the rec, high school, and college level. She now coaches college pitchers, and so she knows what's going on in the game, and she knows how young athletes should get ready. As a quarterback, I always used to love to listen to athletes from other sports. Today, if you're a young athlete, even if your sport is not fast pitch softball, Michelle has some nuggets about training for you. Before we get started, make sure, if you're new to the channel, if you haven't done it, that you subscribe and that you ring that bell. Get notified every time we have something out that can help you out, because our goal here at Elite Athletes TV is to help as many young athletes as we can. And this is a start of our new series with world-class athletes to help you learn how to compete and train. Give us the thumbs up if you're ready to go, ready to learn how you should train, how you should start off your career and what you should focus on. And please leave us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. Now, without any further ado, let's get to Michelle and let's talk about how athletes need to learn the basics. I tell quarterbacks all the time, it's all about the basics, right? Getting the basics and the fundamentals set first. What's your approach with pitchers about doing the basics?
So I'm a big believer in practice a lot before you ever go in a game. So you got to be in your zone when you get on the mound in a game. And the only way to be comfortable is to have the basics and the fundamentals down pat before you ever get there. You know, you hear a lot about kids wanting to play games, and the game part is fun, don't get me wrong. But if you have a strong basis, then you're going to be prepared for the game. So work on your fundamentals, work on your mechanics, and do your research before you go to a pitching coach so that you know that your money is money's well spent, right? You're going to somebody who knows what they're doing.
And it's funny because when I talk to quarterbacks all the time, I think about just football, obviously, as a quarterback, but a lot of our fundamentals are the same. Quarterbacks, pitchers, it's foot placement, it's, strong front, it's all those things. Talk about the basics of pitching.
So here's the thing. My dad was a baseball guy, right? He didn't know softball pitching from anything else. So he just took what he already knew from golf and from baseball and applied it to softball pitching. A lot of it was kind of unique at the time because a lot of women were just going straight forward towards the plate and using all upper body. And he was a big believer on lifting the front leg higher like a baseball pitcher does, rotating on the back foot, and then landing on a strong front side and getting that resistance so that you could throw the ball anywhere in the zone and control the level by the open of your hip. When you open it, you have a lot more places where you can release the ball. And so I threw what was called a low rise, which not very many people had and not very many people have now, because their hips get in the way. They go straight forward. So when you're talking about the basics of pitching and the fundamentals and the common thread, right, through all sports, it's, being loose, being fluid, being athletic, but it's also about using what you have, that leverage, that balance, and using it to your advantage.
And one thing I notice in quarterbacks all over the place, from the youth levels, high school, college, even pro quarterbacks, you look at them and mechanically, a lot of them could really clean up their game. A huge piece of Josh Allen's game this year with the Bills is that he's cleaned up his mechanics. And that would be a huge thing for young athletes when they start early. How much better is it for an athlete to start early with those basics, with the mechanics, and getting all that right?
Well, it's immediate, right? So the first thing when you're talking about the basics, when you're a 10U, 8U pitcher, and you start getting those fundamentals down with your stride, with your balance, with your arm swing, you're just going to get better and better as time goes by. I got a question actually yesterday from somebody that I played against in college, and she's working with younger kids now. And she's like, well, how fast did you throw, when did you hit 70? And I'm like, I think I probably hit 70 when I was in junior high. It's like, you can do it. And I wasn't that big. I mean, I was, I don't know, maybe 145 pounds in 8th grade. But, I think the main thing was just getting the basics down so you can get the speed. But the basics, what does that mean, right? What do fundamentals mean? And as a general rule, if you do a little bit of research, all quality pitchers, at least for softball, and I think in sports in general, have certain things that hold true to each person that's doing well. Then there's the flavor, right? There's the spice. There's the thing that makes you a little bit different. And that really can't be replicated. And a lot of, pitchers, when they're starting, they try to replicate what would make me unique, or Lisa Fernandez unique, or Jenny Finch unique. That's not what you want to pull, right? You want to pull their timing, how they're holding the ball, how their body's positioned, those things. That's common to like all three of us, not the things that make us unique, because what'll make another pitcher unique is her own little spice, her own little flavor. So, when we talk about fundamentals and basics, it's stride, it's power from the lower half, it's your arm swing, it's how you start, it's how you, the directionality of your body as it comes off the mound, your lineup. Those are the things that you start with when you're young.
And the same idea for quarterbacks. I have to correct guys that watch Aaron Rodgers all the time. Aaron Rodgers may be the most natural thrower of a football of all times, but he can do things that normal mortals can't do. And so I have to correct these guys all the time from trying to do what Aaron Rodgers does. How do you learn those as a kid? So obviously, as a pitching coach, you're teaching them fundamentals first. And before they can start to throw the mustard on the hot dog, they need to learn what the hot dog's all about, right? And so it's about reps, isn't it?
It is about reps, but I think one of the biggest mistakes kids make in their pitching regimen today is not doing drill work. I very rarely, my entire career, stood on the mound and threw for an hour or 2 hours at a time in practice. It was always intermittent. It was more interval training. Do a drill, come back to the mound. Do another drill, come back to the mound. And that's how I put on so much speed. I mean, people said, oh, you try to intimidate us by your warm-up. You throw from center field over home plate. I go, that had nothing to do with an intimidation. If that's a good side, that's great if you're intimidated. But
yeah, that helps.
Right. That was my warm up. That's what I did. That's how I got comfortable. I knew I was throwing 70 when I could throw a ball from dead center field over the plate on a line. That's how you know.
And I told this story in our podcast, but I know when you were a junior in high school, you were throwing about 120 because we went to high school not far from each other. And you came over to warm up for a game, and I was out there for baseball. And I asked you, nice as can be, you mind if I stand in? I just want to, see what it's like. And Michelle threw that low riser, boy, and it came at me, and it was nasty. I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. I can't play softball. That's it. I'm through. So you were throwing heat way back then.
I was. And again, when I first started pitching, I practiced every single day for a year, every day. I mean, I couldn't tell you if I even took Christmas off. I don't remember, but I threw and made sure I had the basics down. And once I had the basics down, everything else was just, an add-on. And then the drill work, honestly, it is the saving grace, because it kicks your mechanics back in line and you don't even know you're doing it. Throwing long toss or throwing speed drills of all variations is my all-time favorite, because it's the one thing that makes your timing click in. You could do, I see more and more kids today get on a mound and throw, and that's their practice. And that will never get you into pitching shape. And that's why we have a whole generation of pitchers that throw in the 50s.
So great points all by Michelle, and we have more of this interview coming up. We'll be bringing you more from Michelle, her thoughts on training, the advanced stuff coming up as well. But remember, start with the fundamentals, start with the basics. You don't get great without a solid foundation. So start there and then put in the time and the reps just like she did if you want to become a great athlete. Don't forget, subscribe, ring that bell, get notified when we have stuff out that can help you out. Give us a thumbs up if you like what we talked about here today. And if you're ready to start learning the basics, give us a thumbs up. And leave us a comment down below. Ask us any questions. We'd be happy to answer them here at EliteAthletesTV.com. And if you can, please share this out with teammates, family, friends, other athletes, anybody who you think we can benefit, because our goal here is to be as helpful as we can. Former athletes, world-class athletes, Olympic medalists, trying to help as many young athletes enjoy, love the sport, and become better people through it. I appreciate you watching. That was a little fast pitch softball training from one of the greats of all time on how to get better at your game.